Welcome, SOCS 2200 students at the University of Newcastle. In this explainer, we are going to dive into your varied reading from Dawson's Social Theory for Alternative Societies. And let me tell you, we're kicking things off with a massive question, maybe the question. What is sociology actually for?
So here's our game plan. First, we'll get a handle on the central question that's at the heart of this whole thing. Then, we'll meet Max Weber and his classic idea of a value-free science. After that, we'll see how that idea got challenged, bring in a really important feminist perspective, and then wrap things up with a more modern take from Zygmunt Bauman before we tie it all together. Let's do it.
All right, section 1, the central question. Before we get into any names or theories, we have to understand the fundamental tension that's driving this entire conversation. And this isn't just some dusty old debate. It's a question you're probably going to keep coming back to throughout your entire degree. And here it is. This is the big one. At its core, this is the debate. Is a sociologist's job just to be a neutral observer? You know, a scientist who describes reality exactly as they see it, warts and all. Or should a sociologist be an active participant, a critic who points out what's wrong with society, and maybe even suggest how it ought to be better?
Now, to really get into this, we need to get one key term down: normative theory. A normative statement isn't just about facts, it's a value judgment. It's anytime someone says something is good or bad, just or unjust. Basically, if you hear the word should or ought, you're in normative territory. And believe me, this distinction between what is and what ought to be is the battleground for this entire chapter.
Okay, let's bring in our first major player, the legendary Max Weber. He's the one who really built the foundational case for objectivity in sociology. He's the guy who argued that sociologists need to leave their personal opinions at the door and stick to the facts.
Weber's whole argument really hangs on this sharp distinction you see here. He basically split the world into two separate domains. On the left, you've got facts, things you can test, things you can prove or disprove. That, for him, is the world of science. But on the right, you have value judgments, your beliefs about right and wrong. Weber said these are matters of faith or politics. You can't scientifically prove that something is unjust, so sociology as a science should stay out of it.
So this leads to his big idea. You kind of have to wear two different hats. As a citizen, Weber said, you absolutely should be passionate and have strong political views. Use your swords against the enemies, as he put it. But the moment you step into the classroom or the lab as a sociologist, you have to put down that sword and pick up a plowshare. Your job is to analyze and understand, not to preach or fight.
And this quote just nails his position perfectly. For Weber, science is an incredible tool. It can tell you the best way to get something done, but it can never tell you whether that something is a good thing to do in the first place. That decision, he argued, belongs to the world of politics and public debate, not science.
But, as you can imagine, not everyone was on board with Weber's neat and tidy separation. The idea of a perfectly neutral sociologist came under some heavy fire, especially during the really turbulent 1960s. And that brings us to section 3, where two American sociologists, Alvin Goldner and Howard Becker, really kickstarted the great debate.
Wow, I mean, you can't get much more blunt than that, right? Goodner just comes out swinging. He calls value freedom a myth. He's not just saying it's hard to do, he's saying it's impossible, and that pretending you can be perfectly neutral is actually a huge problem.
This table does a great job of breaking down their disagreement, so let's walk through it. Both Becker and Goldner agree on one thing. Pure value freedom is a fantasy. You're always taking a side, even if you don't realize it. But then they ask, okay, so whose side are we on? Becker's answer is pretty straightforward. Side with the underdog, give a voice to the powerless. But Goldner pumps the brakes a bit. He worries that if you just side with a particular group, you could get co-opted. So for him, our loyalty shouldn't be to a group, but to a core value, like a deep, unshakable intolerance for human suffering no matter who is causing it.
Now, this whole debate about values and taking sides really paves the way for our next thinker, Dorothy Smith. She comes into the conversation with a powerful feminist critique that really changes the game. She doesn't just ask if objectivity is possible, she asks, who gets to define what's objective in the first place?
And this is her killer concept, the God trick. It's such a great phrase. What she's saying is that for most of history, what we called objective sociology wasn't really objective at all. It was just the world seen through the eyes of powerful men. It was one specific, partial viewpoint pretending to be a universal, all-seeing truth, like a god looking down from nowhere.
And for Dorothy Smith, this God trick wasn't just some academic squabble. It has real, damaging consequences. It basically erases the lived experiences of women and other marginalized groups from the picture. It takes the values of a male-dominated world and calls them facts. So this supposedly objective sociology ends up propping up the very power structures, which he calls the relations of ruling that control people. Her alternative? A sociology for people.
One that doesn't start from an abstract, detached point of view, but starts from the messy, real, everyday lives of actual people.
So that brings us to our final thinker in this chapter, Zygmunt Bauman. And he kind of takes all these different threads we've been following and sharpens them into one final, very stark choice for any modern sociologist.
Look at how Bauman frames this. It's so powerful. For him, sociological knowledge is never neutral. It's a tool. The only question is, what is that tool being used for? On one hand, it can be a science of unfreedom, a way for governments or corporations to better understand and control people. But on the other hand, it can be a science of freedom. It can be a tool that empowers people by showing them that the social world isn't set in stone, it's made by us, which means it can be remade by us.
And this quote just captures his vision so perfectly. For Bauman, the ultimate point of a critical sociology is to always be challenging the status quo. Its mission is to fight against that feeling that there is no alternative by constantly showing that other ways of living together are always possible.
Whew! Okay, we have covered a ton of ground here. We started with Weber's clean line between facts and values, we went through the heated debates of the 60s, the feminist critique, and all the way to Bauman's call for a sociology dedicated to freedom.
This timeline really gives you a bird's-eye view of the whole journey we've been on in Dawson's chapter. You can literally see the conversation evolving. We start in the early 1900s with Weber drawing this clear line in the sand. By the 60s, that line is getting erased and called a myth. By the 80s, the question becomes, whose reality does that science even represent? And that brings us right up to today, with Bauman forcing us to choose. Will sociology be a tool for control or a tool for freedom? And so we end right back where we started, but hopefully with a much deeper feel for what's at stake. As you kick off your studies in SOC 2200, this is what I want you to take away. The purpose of sociology isn't some settled fact that you just have to memorize for an exam. It is an open question, an ongoing debate, and now, you are officially a part of it. Your studies start now.